Welcome to the panel celebrating 40 years of SNK history. My name is Travis Shrodes. I'm the marketing manager for NIS America and moderator for today's panel. I have our distinct honor of welcoming our panel of SNK staff, starting with Naoto Abe Abe.
1989年に、SNK に入社しまして、それ以来約30年間、アーティストを続けております。
So yeah, he joined SNK in 1989, so he's one of the veterans, and he's been working there for about 30 years altogether.
今回フライトの時にちょっと時間調整を失敗して、時差ボケで苦しんでおります。途中で、気絶してしまったらすみません。
So he had a pretty rough flight, so he's pretty jet lagged, so apologies if he spaces out or anything during the talks.
頑張りますのでよろしくお願いします。
He'll do his best, so thanks for coming and enjoy the talk, please.
And favorite underrated SNK title?
知られてない。
自分好みの。
そうですね。私が、キングオブザモンスターズ2。これがですね、私が初めて、メインでアーティストをやらさせていただいて、プレイヤーキャラの3体は、私がドットオフしました。
So yeah, King of the Monsters 2 is probably one of his favorite titles from SNK. It was actually the first title that he was one of the main designers on, and he actually created all 3 of the main characters. So he actually did all the sprite art and everything for them.
Next up, I am proud to introduce Kaito Soranaka.
はい、カイト・ソラナカです。先ほど今気づいたんですけど、僕、安倍さんが入社した1989年に生まれました。
So, Director Soranaka was joking that he just realized that the year he was born was the year that Abe-san joined SNK.
SNK に入社したのは2014年で、経歴としましては KF14 の作成と、あと SNK ヒロインズの、ディレクターと、メインゲームデザイナーをやっています。
So, Soranaka-san joined SNK in 2014 and started his career here working on KF14 development that came, and is director of SNK Heroines, Tag Team Frenzy, also the main game design planner.
ディレクターとしましては、全体の流れの把握と、きれいにうまくいくように、なんていうんですかね、相談をしていくっていう役目と、あとメインゲームデザイナーとしては、キャラクターの動きであったり UI であったりというような、仕様書を作成するようなことをやっています。
So as director to explain a little bit of what Soranaka-san does in that role is he has to coordinate, understand, and the big picture of the game. Obviously, you have the producer, director, but he's very hands-on and also being the leading the game design as well, talking with the staff, and whether it's documents, internal GTDs, and really making sure everybody's hitting on all cylinders.
Favorite underappreciated SNK title?
隠れてるわけではないですけど、メタルスラッグ3が好きです。
So I can't think of a underappreciated title, but he loves Metal Slug, especially 3.
Next up, we have Josh Weatherford.
All right, so I joined SNK in 2016. Helped out on some of the final stuff on KOF 14, especially the first DLC pack, helped with a lot of the marketing. The first project I was in charge of was the PS4 and Vita port of Samurai Showdown V Special. And now I'm working on SNK Heroines, and also recently just released was KOF 97 Global Match for PS4 and PS Vita, and for Steam. Came out a couple of days ago, actually, so make sure to pick that one up. As far as underappreciated SNK Neo-Geo titles, I've always loved cars and racing, so probably Overtop. I always loved that game when I was a kid. Had all the routes and all the different cars. Always loved that one.
And finally, Adam Laatz.
Yes, I'm Adam. I head up business development at SNK for the West, so Americas and Europe. I'm work with the staff back in our HQ in Osaka, Josh, Lauren, our producers, and along with my colleagues in Tokyo. So it's my 10th year with the company, and great to be here for the first time, officially on a panel at PAX, the team. And we have some cool announcements for you guys at the panel, so I look forward to this next hour.
Favorite underappreciated SNK
I don't know
title?
if it's really underappreciated. I love Shock Troopers, maybe underappreciated Kizuna Encounter is one of my favorites. Yeah.
All right, with that, we're going to move on to sort of the early history of SNK. I know a lot of you guys out there are SNK fans. A lot of people joining us online right now on PAX 3 may be sort of familiar. It was originally founded in 1978 in Osaka. It is still there. Of the staff, 3 here are from the Osaka office. The original name is Shin Nihon Kikaku. Please excuse my poor Japanese. Literally translating to New Japan Project. It was founded by Eikichi Kawasaki, and it sort of has its roots very deeply in the arcades. And its first major arcade release was Ozma Wars in 1979. The name we're more familiar now with was changed to SNK Corporation in 1986. So this is just sort of broadly sort of the how we got to the sort of SNK that we know today, the roots based in these series and characters that would then later become franchises and properties for Neo-Geo and other titles.
So as you guys, I'm sure aware of Akari Warriors, Athena, both pretty emblematic games. Vanguard, I think, as a predecessor of a lot of vertical side-scrolling shooters before, this is again late 70s. So, and was definitely an innovator in action shooting, fighting, and especially vertical and horizontal shooting genres. We'll get into a little bit more of the details later in the panel with this next announcement.
And this actually leads us to our first major announcement. I'm very, very proud to announce the SNK 40th Anniversary Collection is coming fall 2018. There is so much history in those sort of formative years of the arcade, and we wanted to collect it all in one place for new platforms. And so here is a look at the limited edition we'll be producing for the Switch. It'll be available for order after the panel at snk40th.com. This is a nice look at our limited edition collectors, including high-quality art book with exclusive content and soundtrack. I am now very excited to welcome our surprise panelist, Mr. Frank Cifaldi.
Surprise! Hey, I'm Frank. I am, what title did I make up for myself? The head of restoration at Digital Eclipse. So Digital Eclipse is a company that takes classic games and sort of packages them in a more boutique way for the fans. You might be familiar with some of our work in recent years. We did a Mega Man Legacy Collection for Capcom. We did Disney Afternoon Collection, which was awesome. Please go find that one if you haven't. And then in May, we're doing Street Fighter 30th Anniversary. I guess anniversaries are just what we do now, because now we're doing SNK 40th. And yeah, I mean, should we start talking about the product now? Yeah. So what I'm really excited about with this product is that when people talk about SNK, they almost entirely talk about Neo-Geo and forward. But you know, there was a good like 10, 11 years of games that led up to the Neo-Geo that are the roots of all of those games that we love. And there's just not very much out there really like talking about these games. There's no, you know, there's no like art book even for the early days of SNK. Like, I guess there is now though, right? Like going back to a couple slides ago. And you know, even sort of researching the games in this collection is like, wow, no one really talks about these, but they're amazing. So yeah, you want to move on? What are my talking points here? Yeah, so like with the 40th anniversary we collection, you know, we want to show sort of a curated collection of what we feel are the highlights of what SNK was in those early formative years. But you know, it's also, you know, games that you guys actually want to play, because I don't know that anyone wants to play like the brick breaking games from the 70s anymore. But you know, there's a lot of games that I think still have a lot of modern appeal that even if you guys haven't heard of them, you know, they're still fun to play. And then, you know, of course, we're Digital Eclipse, and what we try to do is at least elevate games to the level of where movies are, right? Where you buy a DVD and there's bonus features that tell you how the movie was made, and might maybe have some of the old promotional material that you could cycle through, and maybe some little documentary featurettes and things like that. And that's my passion. That's what we do at Digital Eclipse, and we want to express that. And especially with this early SNK stuff, you know, you guys are probably not terribly familiar with these old games, but like SNK was innovating, man. Like those early days, we kind of forget that SNK was, you know, just a really prolific, really like groundbreaking developer in the early 80s. There's games that you could argue invented the boss. You know, like if you go back to like fantasy, like it might, you know, it came out the same year as Donkey Kong, but had a slightly more advanced like level progression sort of thing in terms of like telling a narrative through levels, which is not a thing that was in arcades back then. By the way, favorite underappreciated SNK game. I didn't answer that one. Is a game called Fantasy. Like, has literally anyone in this room heard of Fantasy? Yeah, it came out in 1984, and it's this really strange game where you're a guy riding in a hot air balloon, rescuing your girlfriend who was kidnapped by like tribal people who tied her up and lit a fire under her, and you have to like trick pirates into like shooting themselves with cannons, and it's just really strange. And it has these like really terrible voice samples that crack me up, where it's like, "How are you? I'm fine, thank you." So, but you know, we want to show that stuff off and sort of make you guys understand where SNK really came from. So yeah, this is the title list we sort of came up with for what's going to be included on the collection. I see some nods in the audience, so people are probably pretty excited. Akari Warriors, of course, classic. I'm really excited to bring Crystalis back. Yeah, good. That makes me happy that it's not just like my passion thing. The game. So Crystalis, I think, is really cool because SNK in that time was traditionally an arcade developer. All their games were very arcadey, but Crystalis is a very much a home game, right? It's like an action RPG that actually takes a really long time to play. And I think it really holds up as like a Zelda-style game. I think that like it's still like very approachable and easy to play and fun. Psycho Soldier and Athena, of course. You know, we got to include those, right? Street Smart is kind of like a weird, I don't know, would you call it a proto-fighting game from SNK?
SNK's first fighting game.
Yeah, it's SNK's first fighting game. I mean, you know, from a historical perspective, if nothing else, we're including that. And what you might notice here that I'm really particular about is that when there are arcade and home versions of the games, we're including both. You know, maybe the home version of Akari Warriors isn't really the preferred way to play it, but I feel that if you include both of them, you kind of understand the history of those games a little bit better. You sort of understand how we played them at home, and the stuff was developed internally at SNK for the most part. And I think we all want to represent those early years of SNK as much as possible, just throw as much as we can into this package. And of course, there's more games to be announced, right?
Yeah. So we'll be continuously announcing new titles as we get closer to launch that will be included in the final package.
And so I talked a little bit about how our ethos is to teach history through contemporary artifacts and things like that. So lots of HD artwork that we're only just starting to collect right now, but the stuff that is coming into the office from Osaka is like, oh man, look at that art. like zooming in on a really high res piece of promotional art from Athena from back in the 80s has just been really exciting for me. And we're working with a lot of the sort of historian community that I'm really attached to myself, because that's sort of my background. So we're working with the guy who runs Flyer Fevers to get all the old arcade flyers scanned in the game. We're working with the guy who runs Shmuplations to get some of the interviews translated and stuff, so we really understand how these games were made. And I'm going to teach you all some history. Is what I'm doing here. So we're sort of bringing over a lot of the tech from our previous collections, things like rewinding wherever, saving, 1080p upscaled pixels, of course. I will nerd out forever with you guys about pixel aspect ratios. Come see me after the talk if you want. And then some optional cheats and things like that. And it's really what we're trying to do with these games is not force you to be good at them, because they're old arcade games. We just kind of want you to enjoy them. So we're going to figure out some ways to make them a little more accessible.
So we're going to move out of the sort of start of the arcade to where I think most everybody here is more familiar with the Neo-Geo era. So there's a lot of, sort of SNK's most well-known franchises in this: the King of Fighters, Fatal Fury, we got Last Blade, Goro, Mark of the Wolves. I was hoping that Abe-san could maybe share some stories about development from that time.
そうですね、私が SNK にいた頃が、まさしく、ネオジオを立ち上げるという時に入社して、そのままSNK と共にネオジオと共に、SNK で仕事をしてました。なんでどれも、思い入れのあるタイトルばかりなんですが、来た方がいいですかね。
So yeah, I mean, he, as you saw earlier, he joined in 1989, so he actually joined right when the Neo-Geo was starting to be created. So he was right there on the ground floor there, and kind of worked through the entire golden age of the Neo-Geo, and has a lot of memories about these titles, both working on them and playing them.
そうですね、私が、携わったタイトルで言いますと、デビュー作は麻雀ゲームなんで、多分アメリカでは発売されてないと思います。
So yeah, I mean, the first title I actually worked on was a mahjong game for the Neo-Geo, so probably not many people have played that one here, I don't think.
その後、バーニングファイト。
So after that, he worked on Burning Fight.
キングオブザモンスターズ2。
And then King of the Monsters 2, as he said earlier, he was one of the main designers on that one.
で、メインで携わったのは風雲目視録、その後なるんですが、風雲目視録、
Savage Rain.
Oh, Savage Rain. Okay. Yeah. So after that, one of the other main designers games that he worked on as a main designer on was the Savage Rain.
ただそのタイトルの開発が少し難航しまして、アーティストはいろんなところの、手伝いに借り出されまして、で、KOF の94で、初代のサムライスピリッツ、なども、作業をしました。ドットしました。
So yeah, Savage Rain had a little bit of a troubled development stuff, so he was working on a lot of other titles as well, including like KOF 94, King of the Monsters 2, as he said earlier, and then Samurai Showdown, the original one. He did a lot of the pixel art and stuff for all of those titles.
At the same time? All right.
同時でいろいろ触ってたということか。
そうですね、基本はプロジェクト単位で終わらせていくんですけども、同時の時もあります。
So sometimes he was working on multiple titles at the same time. Sometimes they would actually finish cleanly and he would move on to the next title, but it was obviously a very chaotic period.
そうですね、ネオジオと振り返ると、もう30年前になります。で、何か面白いエピソードって考えてみたんですけども、技術の進歩というかとシンクロしてるなとすごく思います。
So yeah, he's been trying to think a lot about some of his memories from these periods. You know, it's over 30 years ago now, but he really feels like his own skill along with the tech of the Neo-Geo and stuff was kind of growing along with each other as he was working on different titles. He was both growing along with the technology.
例えば今なら、背景の絵をステージをデザインしようと思えば、インターネットで世界各国の、いろんな写真が見れたりしますけども、昔はなかったので、旅行本買って資料にしてました。
So yeah, one thing that he always remembers back on is nowadays, whenever you're creating like a background art for a fighting game or anything like that, you can get on Google and look up pictures from anywhere, and you can go on to Google Street View and actually see the live photos of something and use that as a base. Obviously, they didn't have that 30 years ago, so he would go out to bookstores and collect travel books and go through that and use that basically as resources for creating background art back in the day.
筋肉の資料は、洋書アメリカから輸入された、マッスル&フィットネスという本を参考にしてました。
So also when they're making characters with a lot of muscle and stuff, he would want to have some kind of resources to base on the muscular structure and stuff like that. They didn't have that many books like that in Japan, so he would import books or magazines like Muscle and Fitness and stuff from America and use that when he was drawing characters and creating pixel art.
その広告ページに某タコスの広告がいつも載ってて、日本になかったのですごく食べたいなといつも思ってました。
One thing he always remembers is in the Muscles and Fitness and other books, there would always be advertisements for Taco Bell, and Taco Bell only
It's a strange thing for fitness magazine to be advertising.
It's probably got lots of protein, I guess. I don't know. But yeah, I mean, Taco Bell did not exist in Japan, obviously, until I guess last year. I think they finally came over. So, for years and years, he's like, I want to try it. I want to try it. I don't think he ever got the chance.
Was it everything you dreamed of?
まだ食べたことない。
食べたことないんです。
He still has never had Taco Bell, actually. If anybody knows a good one in Boston, we might take him to that.
May I ask a question of Abe-san? What did you use to draw the pixel art? What was the equipment like?
ドテとか打つときはどんな機材とかを使ってたか。
ですね、私が入った頃はマイコン、がまだ主流で、ソニーの37という、3.5 インチフロッピーで動く、マイコンを使ってました。
So yeah, it was a Sony a computer called the Micon that was using 3.75 floppies and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So that's what he was using when he first joined.
でその後、我々は木箱と呼んでたんですけども、自家開発した、ドローツールの、プロトタイプ。
Yeah, after that they actually had a internal basically development kit, I guess you would say, like an arts tool that they developed themselves that they called kibako, which just means wooden box actually. But they used that internally for years and years after that.
Thank you.
その話を続けますと、アニメーションの、領域が 64×64 ドットしかできなくて、 大体例えば、画廊伝説のキャラだと縦が100ドット以上あるんですけど、64ドットしか見えないんで、上半身だけ作って下半身だけ作って
それを合併する。
合体するっていう作り方をしてました。すごく不便でした。
So another interesting thing, I guess a challenge they always had is whenever they were creating animations, they could only do it by 64 by 64 pixels. But like Fatal Fury characters and stuff were usually a lot bigger than that. They would get up to like, I guess, 100 pixels or more. So sometimes they would actually create the animation for the upper half of the body and the bottom half of the body separately, and then basically just combine them to create the full character.
ゲーム画面に出るまでどうなるか分かんない。
And a lot of times they would never know what it's going to look like on the actual screen until they put it in the game. And they're like, oh, wow.
So, like, oh, hey, Terry's upper half is over here and his bottom half isn't following.
Yeah. 確か流行とかだったら最初はこれぐらいしか見えなかったとかなんか。Yeah, no, Art of Fighting especially has huge sprites, and I remember another developer told us something about how, like, when they first did the prototype of the game, like, they could only see the characters from, like, here to here, and they couldn't even see the punches go or anything.
あと今なら当然こういう会社であれば社内 LAN インフラができてるんで、データのやり取りなんかは何のストレスもなくできるんですが、昔は実際にケーブルをつないで、1ピクセルずつってこう送られるのを待つという。
So yeah, obviously, just thinking about like how convenient the technology is nowadays. We have full local networks. We have like servers that we can share information with quickly. Back in the day, he would actually have to connect a cable, and it would literally send pixel by pixel all the data, and he would just have to sit there and wait until it finished.
それも途中でエラーが起こると切って止まってやり直し。
Yeah, and obviously, if an error came up or somebody tripped over a cable or something, then you got to start over from the beginning again, every single pixel.
テクノロジーの発達は素晴らしいと。
So yeah, he's always just amazed by how far technology has come and how much easier it is to make this kind of content.
今ネオジオの、本体が映ってますけども、レバーのボールとボタンの部分の色がなかなか決まらなくて、で当時社内にチェック用に置いてあるやつは部分が赤であったり青であったり白であったりいろんな色がありました。
So one thing that is a little story that I guess most people don't know about is the AES, like the buttons and the lever, the color for it was almost never decided back in the day. So inside internally the prototypes would sometimes be red, sometimes they'd be white, sometimes they'd be blue.
で真ん中が、MVS の日本筐体で、こちらの赤い方がアメリカの筐体なんですけども、アメリカの筐体はすごく大きくて、それを我々は説明でゲームに負けたアメリカ人はすごくパワーがあって筐体を持ち上げて怒りで壊してしまうんで大きいって聞きました。
誰から？
当時のハードウェアを作ってた人から。
So yeah, obviously we have the AES on the left, the home console, and then you have the MVS, which is the Japanese arcade unit in the middle with the blue and white one. And then you obviously, a lot of people probably know the red cabinet, the American MVS.
I feel like if you were in a laundromat in the 90s, you probably saw MVS.
Yep. I used to play Metal Slug at one. But one interesting story is that obviously those are much bigger. And the reason that he was given by the people who created it, I guess that was Trade West, right?
What distributor?
Yeah. So was that basically if the his story was basically that the Americans, if they lost and they get angry, they would, throw the machine around and stuff. So they had to make it big, so they couldn't do that. I don't think that was actually the case, but
I could throw it.
日本の筐体だと投げてしまう。
yeah, if it was a small Japanese one, then they would break it, so they had to make it big and heavy.
だからサイズが。
I can probably confirm that. I also just want to point out how sick that cup holder is on the JP side.
Oh,
I could have killed for one of those on the US one.
そうね、カップホルダーとかちゃんとあるのはすごいね、日本だったら。
ちゃんとあった。ありましたよ。
Yeah, I've never actually seen that in person either. That's pretty cool.
そうですね。あとちょっと開発秘話でも何でもないんですけども、ちょうどネオジオが発売されて1年も経ってないぐらいだと思うんですけども、当時の開発ビルで、火事騒ぎがありまして。
So yeah, one thing, it's not exactly about development, but it's an interesting, I guess, story that he had happening even. So about a year after the Neo-Geo was released, there was actually a fire in the office one time.
で当時の、社長川崎社長なんですけども、もう天井まで届くすごい火になってるんですけども、ちっちゃな消火器1個持って「俺の会社が燃える!」って言って、消しに行ったのを、そこにいた社員全員で羽交い締めして止めたっていう事件がありました。
So yeah, obviously it was a huge fire. It was reaching all the way up to the ceiling actually, and the president at the time, Kawasaki-san, he actually grabbed like a tiny little like fire extinguisher and was like, "I'm not gonna let my company burn down," and ran towards it. And like everybody's like, "No, no, no!" and I had to grab him and stop him from running into the fire actually.
で、その後ちょっと火事の原因が分からなかったんですけども、噂では、お化けが出ると。お化け？ゴースト。で、ゴーストが火をつけたという噂が広まってですね、当時の開発はすごくゴーストがたくさん出る職場でみんな困ってました。
So they actually never knew the reason why the fire was started, but it turned out the rumor that went around was that it was created by a ghost, and I guess a bunch of other ghost stories started going around the office for years after that as well.
夜中一人でモニターに向かって仕事してると、誰かが通ったのが映ったり。
So yeah, sometimes they'd be up late. I think this might just be overwork, honestly, but sometimes they'd be up late looking at a screen, by themselves, and all of a sudden they would see like a reflection go across the monitor, and like, whoa. I'm pretty sure that might just be stress and overwork, but you never know. You never know.
多分会社の斜め前が墓地だったからだと思います。
So actually, I guess the area where the office was built was actually before that it was like a graveyard, so that's I guess why a lot of these stories came about.
Ghosts confirmed.
Yeah.
ちょっと脱線してしまいましたけど、ネオジオの話に戻します。
So yeah, I got a little bit off topic there, but he wants to talk a little bit more about Neo-Geo before he moves on.
最初に紹介しましたけども、私自身はちょうどネオジオを立ち上げるというところで入社しましたので、ネオジオの一通りのタイトルには携わってるんですが、特に最初に、社内で作った4タイトル、私は麻雀なんですけど、麻雀と、ゴルフで、ライディングヒーローはライディングヒーローなんですかね、と、ナムの4本が同時進行で進んでました。
So yeah, basically he worked on a lot of different Neo-Geo titles over the years, but when he first joined, he was basically working on Mahjong, Writing Hero, what's the second?
Mahjong, Writing Hero, and 安倍さん3つ目は何でしたっけ？
ゴルフトッププレイヤー。
Top player. So the golf game, yeah.
Top players,
yeah. Top players golf.
で、開発にはロムという皆さんご存知ですかね、チップのロムなんですけども、を、使ってたんですけども、大量にそれを焼く必要があって、その大量にロムを焼く機械が1台しかなくて、その、4タイトルで常に奪い合いを。
So yeah, basically, obviously back in the day, they were always creating ROMs for the cartridges or the Neo-Geo cartridges, and they basically had to do all of that themselves internally, and they had this one huge machine that was made for copying from the master to the actual products, and they're doing 4 titles at the same time, and multiple people are basically like trying to grab the machine when they can have it. It takes a long time. Everybody needs it, but there's only one. So it was always a little bit chaotic trying to grab that machine whenever they needed it.
それでも毎日のようにそういうことをやってると前の人が頑張ってねみたいな感じでちっちゃなチョコレートを置いてくれてたり小さな友情が生まれたりもしました。
So yeah, there was also small little gifts from the person who would take it over for a long time. They would then leave like a little piece of chocolate or something for the next person to be like, sorry, I took it for like 3 hours, but now you can have it. Here's a little piece of friendship, basically.
でちょうどいよいよネオジオ発表っていう時にもうほぼみんなが会社に泊まり込みみたいな状況が続いてました。
So yeah, especially whenever it got close to the actual release of the Neo-Geo, like it was all hands on deck. People were staying at the office. There was just so much work to do.
ある日社長が、6階の、広い会議室があったんですけども、そこへ深夜の1時ぐらいに集まれ、みんな集まりました。
So yeah, around that same time, the president, Kawasaki, the guy running into the fire and stuff, he actually got everybody about 1 a.m., right, everybody's working hard, and he got them all into the biggest meeting room that they had in the office.
そしたらケンタッキーの、バケットが10個ほど置いてあって食え
And he basically brought in about 10 buckets of KFC chicken for everybody and just passed it around and was like, eat, you need energy, you gotta eat.
もう夜中の1時回ってたんですけども、5ピースほど食べました。
Even though it was already the middle of the night, he ate about 5 different drumsticks, he said.
その甲斐あって、ネオジオも無事発表ができて、特にその後一遍切ってもらった方がいいですね。それもあって無事に。
So yeah, basically, he feels that that's part of the reason why Neo-Geo was successful and they were able to get it on time.
I thought you were going to say the chicken.
Thank you very much, Abe-san. That moves us very nicely into the sort of post-Neo-Geo era. So after 2001, SNK was reformed to SNK Playmore.
Yeah, so there's definitely a tough time for the company in the late 90s, 2000. There's been books written about it even, but the company was able to build itself back up into SNK Playmore and now back to SNK. But for this post-Neo Geo era, they were still making, still releasing arcade games as well. So KOF 11, I think on that Tommy's Wave hardware, KF 12 and 13 on Taito's Type X. So those boards, and again, we saw in the West huge decline in arcades in the 90s. You saw that in Japan, Asia in the 2000s as well. So it's a bit sad, but SNK has always been trying to keep that going, and it's a big part of the company's history. And that it's largely was an arcade developer, publisher. And made its own hardware. So I think that's, as Frank was saying earlier, it's a very innovative company with the Neo-Geo, the MVS, AES. So that was always in the spirit of its company, even in the Playmore days. And you had, again, with Metal Slug, it's hugely popular, and more than really 6 titles, 7 titles in the main series and a lot of spin-offs. So even that Playmore era, you had great releases like 6 and 7 made by Noise Factory. So leading into the next slide.
That leads us to our next major announcement.
So yes, originally Metal Slug XX was released on the PSP. It was kind of a follow-up to a rearranged version of 7 on the DS. So as Travis was mentioning, we're very happy to announce on the next slide that later this summer, it's coming to PS4 in a remastered edition on PSN. So I'm sure many of you have played, again, some of the quintessential, Metal Slug, the original, 3, X, great games. This was definitely, for whatever reason, I think it kind of fell under the radar at the time for some of the marketing and promotion timing. But, thanks to our developer, a team back in Osaka, and our friends over at Sony that helped make this happen. I think we'll be announcing more features, a lot of bells and whistles for this remastered port in the coming months. So please look forward to it. It will be out, I think, a bit sooner than you think.
I still think we should add a new character and call it Triple X, but I got vetoed on that one.
Sort of leads us to kind of where we are today.
So again, I hope all you guys have enjoyed KF14. It's been out for more than a year, and we're still releasing content for it. So again, it's really the flagship console and arcade title in Japan. So along with the continuous, going to be a total of 58 characters. That will be 58 later this month. And we're supporting a very grassroots esports support program. So basically, the staff back in Osaka is sending a lot of goods, merch, and also pot bonuses. So you can check out our official website, apply, and any, not just KF14, but any SNK game out on whether it's Sony's, Nintendo, Steam, any platform. So Josh has worked on some of the third-party production releases as well, mentioning just released 97 global match, but again, the final Neo-Geo title, a huge cult classic, 5 Special.
Yeah, so one of the first titles that I was in charge of was the PS4 and Vita version of Samurai Showdown V Special, along with third-party productions and at Sony. So they help out a lot with that. And it's developed by Code Mystics, as a lot of our retro titles are. It's got pretty good netcode. We add a lot of features like galleries and stuff in there. And yeah, 5 Special was pretty special to me because I like Samurai Showdown. It's one of my favorite titles from the SNK. And it had a very rocky history with censorship came in because there was a weird incident in Japan right when the game came out, and the ROMs got taken back and they got censored. So this release was, the full uncensored version, like it was as it was intended, and finally came out, like 20 years later, basically 15 years, I guess.
Yeah, and it's done great. We're highly focused on keeping this flow of both new and retro content, just on the right platforms, the right features. And again, going back to Frank's discussion, we're very excited to work with Digital Eclipse as just focused, best of the best, best quality for our fans, and to really keep that momentum going in the future.
So speaking of the future titles, we're here at PAX East. We're at the Nintendo booth demoing for SNK Heroines Tag Team Frenzy.
SNK はですね、おかげさまで、キャラクターの人気というものが世界中でとても高く、でその中でも、女性を集めて新しいゲームを作ってみようかっていうところがきっかけで始まった作品となっています。
So Soranaka-san was saying that you're all aware of a lot of the female fighting characters are very popular in the just SNK catalog, a lot of the series. So whether it be from KOF, Fatal Fury, Art of Fighting, so the team looked at establishing some sort of roster for a spin-off title, and that's kind of how the initial concepts and planning on Heroines came to fruition.
I think that saying that they're mildly popular is a bit of an understatement.
Yeah. Now, as Travis mentioned, I think just in the fighting game genre, you could probably argue that Mai is probably the most popular character out there. And there's many announcements to come, actually one today. So I'll have Soranaka-san talk a little bit more about that.
多分KOF14 作ってたプレッシャーからちょっと頭のネジが飛んだんじゃないですかね。
So Abe-san was joking that I think with all the hard work and stress and determination that went into KF14, and some of the team members, they wanted to do something a little bit lighter, a little bit funner, and they came up with some crazy ideas that kind of formed this game.
Yeah.
So
ですね、あと物語としては KOF14 の後日談ということにはなってるんですけども、ゲームシステムとかはタッグチームになってたりっていうところで KOF とは全く違うシステムになっているので直接的な関わりっていうのはないんですね。
So while it's not that related to the main story of KF14, it's a spin-off. There's definitely a bit of connection with the characters. And so Soranaka-san has been working on the story for this game, as a spin-off title. It's a bit more of a niche title, but we've received great reaction thanks to our partners over at NIS America, Nintendo, Sony, and yes, I know we'll be revealing more in the months to come, but I'm
そうですね。で、あとは先ほど安倍さんもおっしゃってましたけど、ちょっと頭が変な感じになった状態で作ってて、結構コミカルな感じで作られてるゲームなので、どなたでも楽しんでもらえるんじゃないかと思ってます。
So he's saying you guys can check it out at the booth here at PAX, but there's about a lot of comical really items and just the whole ambiance, atmosphere of the game is a bit wacky. A lot of fan service in the game, so kind of going back to Abe-san's point is they're having fun developing it and really trying to put as much heart and soul into pleasing the fans and give a lot of fan service.
So having as much fun developing it as they are playing it.
Exactly, yeah. I'm sure if you check out Play the Game, it's very easy to get into. And I think it will please the hardcore fans and a lot of newbies, new gamers to fighting games. Also.
We also have the KOF content.
Yeah, so the last character was just announced on the PS blog a couple of days ago. I know we got some Blue Mary fans out there, I'm sure. So yeah, this is the second DLC pack for KOF 14. We try to meet as many of the demands as possible. So you have Hydern, Oswald, and Blue Mary, who are returners. And then we did a pretty interesting collaboration with a Saudi company to create Najd, which is the first Saudi character in KOF 14. And that was actually created by a female artist in Saudi Arabia, and we did like a fan contest to choose the best design and then created that in the game. So we're really excited about all these 4 characters, and they're going to be on sale on April 12th. So yeah, definitely cop those if you're a KOF player.
And sort of bridging past and present, we kind of have a number of different collaborations that are going on between SNK and other companies, such as NISA. You may have seen our Diamond Dream Edition that we're producing for Heroines. It's available online at snkonlinestore.com. You may be familiar with, of course, the Bitmap books.
So yeah, we teamed up with Bitmap Books, which is a publisher in England, and they put together a very, very comprehensive history of Neo-Geo. They went out and got collectors to take photos of some really rare boards and like advertisements and everything. So it's a really cool collection, and it really just celebrates the history of SNK in a very cool way.
I've actually got one of those. It is incredible.
Yeah, it really is really high quality.
I believe it's actually sold out, but they're reprinting copies right now.
Yeah. And then also we've been, for the last year or so, we've been teaming up with Fangamer and creating a lot of different merch. Some of it you can cop at their booth at PAX East, actually. That's also all for sale online. So we do a lot of different things. So as you can see, we've all got the Fatal Fury hat on up here. A lot of us are wearing the various T-shirts as well. They did some really interesting stuff.
What? I should point out to Josh, in working with Fangamer and working in Osaka with people like Abe-san and Oda-san, original members of the Fatal Fury team, they went right to the developers to check the hats, to check the merch. So the level of quality, it's just we're very happy to be working with them and just provide the fans with high quality products.
Yeah. And then another cool collaboration we're doing is recently you see a revival of like vinyl records, especially using game music. So we've been working with Brave Wave, and they put together an Art of Fighting vinyl record. It's also available download and CD version as well. But I mean, if you're going to buy it, you're going to buy the vinyl, obviously. And then we also worked with a company called Data Discs as well, and they did a Metal Slug vinyl as well. So we're going to keep doing those kind of collaborations going forward. SNK has never, in the last few years, we haven't really put out that much merch out there, and fans want that stuff. So we're trying to deliver what we can as much as possible at the highest quality possible going forward.
All right, enough of the sales pitch, I guess. I know what you guys are all here for. I think we got something really special I think you're going to really like about next announcement I've been hyping up for SNK Heroines.
ですね、じゃあ SNK ヒロインズの、新情報をお伝えしたいと思います。
So, Director Soranaka-san would like to make a new announcement, the next character reveal.
Take it away.
I think we were kind of expecting something like that, but it's even better, in action. So yeah, we're confirming today. SNK Heroines Tag Team Frenzy will be out September 7th on Switch and PS4, and of course, announcing Shermie. Long awaited. Been hearing from you guys. We know, there's a lot of love to the character, and we're just happy as hell to be able to confirm it today.
So yeah, I think as Travis mentioned, officially announcing the release date. I know the team is really hard and adding as much polish and just quality to this game. Please check it out here at PAX. Again, it's still in development, so they're working very hard. It's again still in dev build, but it will be running at 60 frames per second.
And so anybody who's present today will be leaving with a Shermie pin in her costume 1. The costume alt that you saw with the crown, and it'll be for anybody who comes by the demo and plays it at PAX for the rest of the show. And that'll be at the Nintendo booth.
Oh.
So, Soranaka-san, a final message to all the fans out there about Shermie's return?
そうですね、先ほども、とても素晴らしい反応をいただけたと思うんですけども、皆さんだいぶシェルミンのことが好きだと思いますので、ぜひ楽しみにしていただけたらと思います。
So Soranaka-san was saying that just by seeing everyone's reaction, one special one too, I think, he's amazed at just the reaction, and that I know a lot of fans have been waiting for Shermie, so it's given him a lot of energy, and I think be a great momentum to the team to finish this game up. And
あの声援で我々の苦労は報われました。
So yeah, I mean, all the hard work is definitely worth it whenever you see a reaction like that. Like that really just makes our game.
The Queen returns. So I want to just thank everybody for coming out. We appreciate everybody for coming. We appreciate all your support in the audience out there on the web. And we just hope you guys have a really great rest of the show. Thank you so very much.